The Supreme Court has fast-tracked a case that will decide whether President Trump has the legal authority to impose sweeping tariffs, a crucial issue that could redefine presidential power over trade and economic policy.
We have a big case brought by foreign governments because the foreign governments have been ripping us off for years, and it's now in the Supreme Court. That case is really important to win because it's made us a rich country. And frankly, this economy, if we win the tariff case, which we should on the legal merits, but on common sense merit, we would have to give back trillions of dollars
to these countries.
What do you imagine?
All those deals.
We would have to give back trillions and trillions of dollars because we got it because of tariffs. That case is one of the most important cases in the history of our country.
Joining us now, Forbes Media Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, Steve Forbes. Steve, thanks for being with us. Dave and I were so glad that you were here on this topic because it's really complicated. You know, I was shocked at how fast the Supreme Court responded to this. They really jumped in. They're getting it on the docket. They're going to really be talking about this in November. But this presents a large issue in terms of the dollars. And of course, the president's attorneys saying they could bring us to the brink of economic catastrophe were the Supreme Court to decide that these tariffs have to be done away with. What could be the impact?
Well, first of all, a tariff is a tax, and removing a tax is not a catastrophe. In terms of the Supreme Court, what I think they'll decide is, no, the Constitution's very clear. Taxes have to be passed by Congress. If it's an emergency, you can only do it for a few months, as Nixon did in 1971, put in tariffs, but they were going in a few months. The president made it clear a lot of these tariffs he wants forever. And so in terms, I think what the Supreme Court will do, however, is say that because this issue wasn't decided years ago when the president's first term, Biden kept these tariffs in. Therefore, they're not going to try to have refunds for the tariffs already collected.
That's trillions of dollars.
Well, but it's hundreds of billions. But the fact of the matter is, they can say that was done in the past. We're looking to the future. And by the way, the Supreme Court's made big decisions in the past. Back in the 1930s, the cornerstone of Franklin Roosevelt's fight against the Great Depression was something called the National Recovery Administration, sweeping controls over the economy. 2 years later, the Supreme Court unanimously threw it out, said it's unconstitutional. Roosevelt went bonkers, but the Supreme Court prevailed.
Interesting.
There's another part of this, though, and this is, I'm not for an activist Supreme Court, but when it comes to the executive branch and the determination of what is an emergency, let's face it, $37 trillion in debt has a real-world effect on the American economy, on the American people. We're not talking about some separation between Wall Street and Main Street, and the executive does carry certain powers in the interest of the nation. It's one of the reasons we elect a president.
Well, but the Constitution defines what those powers are. And, and there are statutes already on the book which the president has used to put on tariffs in specific cases. They've been on for years, and he's used them very aggressively. And in terms of the tariffs themselves, the kind he's been imposing, what he's going to have to do is go before Congress and say we should have a 10% or 15% tariff, or whatever proposal they want to make. They could have another reconciliation bill coming later this year. And in terms of dealing with the national debt, that's a the problem for Congress. Stop spending so much in certain areas, which they've started to make some progress on. And the growth is the only way, vigorous economic growth is the only way we dig ourselves out of these problems. We've done it in the past. After World War II, we had even greater debt than we do today, proportionately. But within 20 years, tax cuts, economic growth, a little bit of spending restraint, not a lot, went from 120% of GDP down to 35%. Then we forgot the lessons, and now we're in the mess we're in today.
But the president says, and I just have to put this to you directly, that these tariffs could raise $3.9 trillion. Ultimately, he says you could get rid of income taxes. Think about that. So the taxes you hate so much go away because tariffs are funding everything. Is that really possible?
Well, in terms of replacing the income tax and the corporate tax and the Social Security taxes, no, the numbers don't work. However, what the president should do is put on the table a discussion. What kind of tax system do we want in this country? And so you prepare and you have a strategy so that people, if tariffs do come, people know it's gone through a proper vetting, thoroughly discussed, which our founders wanted to do, would want to do, and then you take it from there. but they do it sort of here, there, and on today, off tomorrow. No, that's not the way you win public support, and it gives an opening to the Democrats, which I hate. And as for the $3.9 trillion, I don't like the idea of Republicans boasting that a tax increase is going to raise $4 trillion over 10 years. He had a great tax bill earlier this year. I hope they have a reconciliation bill with more tax cuts coming up. The economy is going to need it and love it. So let's reduce them, not raise them. And in terms of fighting with foreign governments, there are other ways to do it, which he's proven very effective at. And also as a peacemaker. One of the things, for example, that is totally ignored is that he's negotiated, so far it's held up, armistice of sorts between Armenia and Azerbaijan, which is hurting Putin's power right in his own backyard. And no one paid attention to it, but it was quite a little coup. So he knows how to be an activist.
Well, let's see if the art of the deal works out for the American people and our economy.
Well, if anyone can do it, the president can. If he gets thwarted one area, you know he's going to try another.
I like your idea about what to do in the next reconciliation bill, and throw in a few more pocket rescissions while you're at it.
And lower taxes. I'm in favor of that.
Yeah,
I go for that. You know.
Flat tax. There we go.
Hey, there's an idea.
Thank you. Who came up with that one? I don't know. Thank you, Steve. Great to see you, my friend.
Great, thank you.